We have some breaking news that the Toronto Maple Leafs have made their first big splash of the offseason by signing Max Domi to a very team-friendly deal. And this is the beginning of what is sure to be, hopefully, an exciting offseason for the Toronto Maple Leafs. We're going to break that down in this episode, as well as discuss multiple reports that have surfaced following the signing, indicating that not only are the Toronto Maple Leafs not done, but that big moves could be coming very, very soon as 24 to 48 hours from now. Stay tuned for all that. We'll break it all down. But before we do, if you're a part of the large percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, you're going to want to hit that button. We produce daily Leafs content, and we're just getting started because the Leafs are just getting started as well, and tons of news is going to be breaking. Stay tuned for that. But Darius, they finally did it. Obviously, yesterday they made their first kind of splash by trading for Chris Tanev. There's no update in a contract extension on that front yet, so we'll keep you up to date on that front. But Max Domi is officially a Toronto Maple Leaf for the next 4 years, a $3.75 million AAV. There were some rumors a couple weeks ago, even a week ago, that he might be getting 5 years at maybe $5 million AAV. It ends up the long negotiation, because this has been ongoing really since the season ended and even into the season when it was ongoing. Darius, great deal for both sides. Happy for Max Domi. Perfect signing for the Toronto Maple Leafs and a great start to the offseason, one that's going to be exciting for Brad Treliving.
Yeah, this contract is awesome. I'm really happy. This is a good day for Leaf fans, right? Like you mentioned, we were looking at maybe 5 years, 5 million. Like that's what was thrown out earlier in the offseason, like right after the season ended, or at least the Leaf season ended. And that was a little, I don't know, I was skeptical about that. I wasn't too sure about that. But I had faith that Max Domi like wanted to stay in Toronto. It seemed like he really liked Toronto and wanted to come back. His locker cleanout day, he said he wanted to remain a Maple Leaf. And at the end of the day, he took like a little bit less to stay in Toronto. That's a really good thing. He's a fan favorite. He's going to continue to be a fan favorite. We'll get into the nitty gritty of like the contract and his stats and all that in just a second, but I'm really happy about this. I love Max Domi. Anytime you can get a guy on a contract like this that's going to score you 40 or 50 points, that's a win. So really, really excited about this. And, the Leafs haven't actually made an official announcement about this yet. So I wonder if they're done today or not. So that's going to be fun to watch too.
Yeah, stay tuned for that. And it's at the point of the offseason now where moves happen. You just expect more moves to happen, and we're going to dive into that in a minute. But hockey's from the hockey perspective, a phenomenal player. Like even at that AAV, you can't really ask for a much better player at that price point, especially given what the Leafs need. We remember that I think it was Game 5 against the Boston Bruins where he just stepped up and won 92 or 94% of his faceoffs, and he really helped carry the Leafs to a win in the playoffs. He played good in the playoffs, great in the regular season. Like this was a guy that Darius, both of us circled. If you had to pick between Bertuzzi and Domi, if all things were equal, maybe you lean towards Bertuzzi. But given this contract and the contract that Bertuzzi is going to end up getting, I'm very happy they went with Max Domi first. That doesn't mean, which we'll get into in a second, that they're done regarding potentially Bertuzzi. But I'm very happy about this. And Max Domi, everyone is happy. Like I have yet to see a Leaf fan on Twitter, and that's Max Domi. He's locking it in there on Twitter. But I've yet to see a Leafs fan on Twitter that is really upset with this deal, and that's very, very rare for just contracts in general. But you can see this here. Good deal. Wasn't the best start to his tenure, but Domi proved he has a place on this team, finished top 10 in primary assists, and obviously cares about wearing the Maple Leaf. And I think at this point, having guys, he's going to shine, I think, even better under Craig Berube than he did under Sheldon Keefe. We rewind back to November and December when the start of the season, the Leafs were kind of collapsing. Everyone was like, this signing is terrible. Domi's not playing well. He figured it out, kind of similar to Tyler Bertuzzi. Again, any quick thoughts before we move on to some of the other stuff regarding this trade because there's a lot more to it.
Yeah, besides the fun stuff and like him posting the Wolf of Wall Street video and all that, like he loves to be here. He wants to be here. A bunch of celebrities are commenting on his post, happy for him, and Tom Brady saying bring the cup home and stuff like that. Like the vibes are good, right? But this guy has earned his spot on the team. He has, like you said earlier in the season, it wasn't looking like things were going to go well. And like you said, people were calling for Sheldon Keefe to be fired and Max Domi wasn't going to fit in. But look at the point totals he put up at the end of the day. He played really well in the playoffs for them. And I mean, he came up clutch in a lot of playoff games. He can play almost any position, not totally well all the time, but he can fill in where you need him to. So he's a very useful player. Like we've seen him play center this year. We saw him play wing. He's a very useful player. And at that cap hit, like it's a no-brainer to me, right?
It makes so much sense. And the thing with Max Domi, again, I would have been fine with it at a cheaper contract, or a more expensive contract. Sorry, like again, we were discussing $5 million as if that was kind of crazy, which it was, but to get him at this deal is just so good. 29 years old as well, so by the time his contract's up, he'll still kind of be just at the end of his prime there. And we have some other things to discuss about the potential impact of these moves going forward. So this is from Darren Dreger. Despite the belief that in the Domi Bertuzzi situation, it would be one stays and one goes, the Leafs continue to work with Bertuzzi in hopes of extending him as well. So Darius, this is the thing we need to discuss now. So coming into the offseason, we were thinking maybe, Bertuzzi's going to walk, he's going to get too much, and that if they sign, they'd pick between Domi and Bertuzzi. It seems like, and over the past really few days, it started to intensify. There's a very real chance Tyler Bertuzzi returns to the Toronto Maple Leafs on maybe even a team-friendlier deal than we expected, given Max Domi I'm not saying Max Domi took a pay cut because free agency hasn't started, so he also ultimately didn't test his options fully. But, man, this report is big from Darren Dreger, and it's very exciting if you're a Leafs fan. I wouldn't mind to bring both of these guys back under Craig Berube and just to see what they can do. That being said, I do want them to bring in some new faces as well.
Yeah, I think, well, they're going to, right? And I think with the projected, they have about 15 million, I think, in cap still after this Domi signing. They still need to do a few things. They need a goaltender still. They still need to dip into the defense market, right? See what's up and what's available there. And then sign Tyler Bertuzzi. I think those are maybe not in exactly that order, right? But you have to look at those things as well and see what you can do with the projected cap space you have left, right? And the way things were going, and we mentioned it, I think it was Friday, maybe Thursday, it sounded like Bertuzzi may be open to coming back on a lesser deal as well, just like Max Domi. Not as much as Max Domi, but less than what he's worth out there on the open market. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. And like I mentioned earlier in the video, the Leafs haven't put anything official out about Max Domi. The contract is done, everything's updated, cap friendly is all done, you can see it, but they haven't put out like a post or anything yet. So I wonder if they're waiting till tonight to do something with Tanev and him, or maybe, you know what I mean? Like something could happen still tonight, so it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, and tomorrow obviously is when the Leafs could also make some other moves. They did trade for Tanev. We know talks are picking up to a degree in that front. But yeah, from Darren Dreger, and this is from Jay Rosehill. If I said the Leafs can get you a guy who can put up 50 points, 100 plus PIMs, has character, plays with passion, and costs you under $4 million, would you be interested? Love Max Domi. What a great contract by Trey. And that, again, it just goes to show how important and how loved Max Domi was around Leafs Nation. And I mean, we were under the same sentiment the entire year. Very good contract, very exciting player. And the best part about it is that now, not only this year, next year, he's under contract now until he's 33, and I can't imagine that he's going to disappoint us in those years, especially given the point total there. But the Bertuzzi thing, like you mentioned, is interesting. But in general, I'm very happy with the contract that Domi signed. Does this mean that they're done with Tyler Bertuzzi? No. But I also am eerie on the side of caution because they do have to get a goalie. They have to re-sign, I guess technically re-sign. They have to sign Chris Tanev to a deal very soon. And the cap is going to start to get a little rough, especially if Bertuzzi is at the projected $5.5 million AAV that he's saying there. But can't be upset with the deal. $11 million or so to spend left.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting over the next couple of days. And I wonder if they do get Bertuzzi done still. But like you mentioned, Domi, if he produces what he did last year or what he's been producing the last couple of years at this cap hit, it's going to be fine. No fans are going to turn on him, right? We love him for who he is and what he brings to the team. And at that cap hit, he can almost do no wrong. Obviously, he can do wrong, but if he continues to produce at what he's doing, it's great value, right? So I'm excited for it. I'm happy that it happened. Obviously, if he was to leave the Leafs, I don't know where you're going to find a player like Max Domi to kind of cover that production for that cap hit, right? And who wants to play here. So I'm glad that they got that out of the way. But now it's the focus, again, is signing some of his teammates, including Chris Tanev, which is pretty weird because they got him yesterday. He is technically a Leaf, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, especially given all the things that the Leafs have yet to do this offseason, which makes sense because the free agency opens up tomorrow. But we'll see. Lots of, they had to re-sign Tanev, get some other defensemen, get some goalies. So it's going to be interesting. There's a lot of news that we're going to be covering, so make sure to hit the subscribe button. But that'll wrap it up. Let us know your thoughts around the signing. We'll see you guys soon.